Hi.
Hi Nivedita. Hi Ankita. Welcome. We have more speakers in this session, right? So,
Yes.
yeah. We'll wait for a couple of,
Yes, please.
for some more time.
Sure.
Hello.
Welcome, Mr. Mustafa. Welcome.
Hey, how are you?
We're all doing fine. We're having a landmark historic Digital Women's Economic Forum and happy to have you here for this session, which is Retail Food Fresh Forward. And it has created a lot of interest when we posted on social media. Lots of people wanted to, attend your session. So everybody is waiting for that. And we have Ankita Bajaj Shankar, who will be the moderator. BFSI Retail and E-Commerce. Welcome, Ankita. And we have PC Mustafa, CEO and co-founder, ID Fresh Food. Everybody knows every lady in the house, probably is using, your product. And we have Nivedita Prasad, co-founder, Chocolate Philosophy. Who doesn't love chocolates? Okay. And we have two more speakers coming in. Probably Ankita, the floor is yours. You can begin and they can just join. Over to you, Ankita.
Hi. So I'll welcome Mustafa and Nivedita, and thank you for the introduction. So I think I'd like to start the session with saying hello to all of you from everywhere in the world, whatever time zones you all have joined from. This is Ankita, and I'm your moderator for the session. To kick off today's conversation and on today's topic, which is retail refresh and way forward, I would first like to welcome all our panelists. I'm afraid we've had only two of them join us yet, but I think we'll do our best with them. And I would like both of you, Nivedita and Mustafa, to take out this time to share with us your thoughts, ideas, and your valuable experience. So I will start with Mustafa in alphabetical order. So introducing Mustafa now, as all of you know that he's the CEO and co-founder of ID Fresh Foods, a brand which a lot of Indians are probably familiar with and doesn't need an introduction. Of course, to those who are logging in from other countries, ID markets a range of fresh food products, which not just across India, but to the larger diaspora of Middle East and the US as well. I hope I got that right, Mustafa. Mustafa has also been regarded as one of the tycoons of tomorrow by Forbes India. And we look forward to hearing from you on your journey of building and scaling a successful brand in such a competitive market environment. So a very warm welcome to you, Mustafa.
Thank you, Ankita.
Moving on to Nivedita, I would like to introduce Nivedita Prasad, who is the co-founder of Chocolate Philosophy, based out of Bangalore, India. It's the brand that makes and markets homemade premium chocolates, a chocolatier herself, and she's also a lawyer, although she doesn't practice, and not a lot of people would know that. Nivedita has successfully turned her passion into a roaring business and reshaping the way the consumers perceive and consume chocolate. Welcome, Nivedita, and we look forward to hearing from you and your journey as an entrepreneur, and how is it shaping up in these trying times?
Thank you.
Yes. Hi, Hari. Hi, I'm Ankita, the moderator.
Hi, Ankita.
Hi. I was just introducing Mustafa and Nivedita, and I would take the time to introduce you to our audiences as well. So Mr. Hari Menon is the founder and CEO of BigBasket.com. For those of you who are not from India and are not aware of it, I'm surprised if you are not, but BigBasket.com is one of India's foremost player in the online grocery and home essentials space. Mr. Menon has been closely involved in leadership roles across IT as well as consumer tech throughout his career. He has been an early mover in consumer tech, having co-founded FabMart way back in 1999, an online e-commerce portal similar to the likes of the present day Amazon. I think most of us didn't have a PC back then as well. Did we not?
Yeah,
I don't know.
you're right. You're right.
So we are grateful for your time, and thank you again for joining us today. I think we yet have Mr. K. Vetisaran to join us. So why don't I take this session forward and request each one of you in alphabetical order, starting with Hari, Mustafa, and Nivedita, take 5 minutes to give us your thoughts on the topic, as well as about your retail experiences, your personal journeys, your brand journeys, and of course, the pre-post COVID scenarios and contingency planning. Over to you, Hari.
Thanks, Ankita. So what do you want me to start with? The topic, I think, yes, it's I guess a very relevant topic for everybody in this in this space. And moment you use words like fresh, it actually gets me very excited because one of our key differentiators and one of our key strategic pieces in our business is our fresh produce business piece. A very difficult piece which we decided to take on right when we started. And when I say fresh, I talk about fruits and vegetables, which is something that today has scaled extremely well and has become a very, very large piece of our business. It's associated with a lot of risks when you think of a business like that, because there's perishability and there's freshness, and the lady at home wants to touch and feel the product. You can't buy it without you taking that bhindi and knocking off the head of it and hearing the crackling sound, which we don't let you do, right? Because we do that for you. We've got experienced trained people who do that. If I say better than women, I'll get beaten up, but I can assure you we do it better than women, because there's science to it, and I think women do it very naturally well. No doubt about it. So coming back, I think the word fresh actually means a lot to us. We've scaled that business well. We decided to do fresh from day one. Every new city we launch, we start with fresh. And surprisingly, it's become 20% of our business. And just to give you, an equivalent, all other formats, be it modern trade, be it online, be it any retail format, they typically do between 5 and 10% of their businesses fruits and vegetables. And for us, it's 20%. You wouldn't think it would be like that in an online space, right? When people can't even touch and feel that. But we did something very, very differently there. On freshness, did something very differently there on packaging. Brought in a lot of innovation there on packaging to make sure not just it looks good, but it also is fresh when it reaches customers. We work with 15,000 farmers. We've got 47 collection centers across the country. Collection centers have got a whole lot of agronomists. They work closely with farmers. And today we believe that, we are one of the largest players in the organized space as far as fresh is concerned, fruits and vegetables concerned. We do a lot of other fresh produce also. We do fresh meat, etc., etc. So anyway, so the topic is absolutely relevant, and fresh food forward means a lot. So coming back, I've been in the retail space since '99 in different forms. We started with in the online space, which was set up a company called FabMart, which then struggled a bit because it was just too early for its time. You talked about people not having PCs. Well, people had PCs there, but they used to use dial-up lines. There was no broadband. So by the time the page loaded, you could actually have a cup of tea and come back, and that's when the page would load. There were no payment gateways. Not a single bank had a payment gateway. So what we used to do? We used to actually get customers' credit cards, numbers given to us, including the CVV number. How unsafe, right? But people trusted us and did that. But obviously that that was not the ecosystem, that was available to build an online business. Absolutely not the ecosystem. Just some sale happened, a couple of years back, and the whole frenzy started. But and you saw businesses collapsing, etc. That's a point in time where while we continued running the business, we actually pivoted the whole model, and because we were so brave that we even started online grocery that time. Can you believe it? And we set up a few warehouses and stuff like that, because in an online grocery business you need to have control on inventory, otherwise you can't run and manage that business well. And since we had built warehouses, we actually went on to pivot into setting up grocery stores. And it was very early days, and we saw a great opportunity there. There was just one chain that time called Food World, and so we thought we could actually get into that space and probably do a lot of work. And then there was no looking back. Actually, we built that business, scaled that business from 2000 to 2006. And in 2006, that business got sold to the Aditya Birla Group, and you see those chain of stores right now, which are called More. So that's been the first phase of our journey, and post which us founders did different things, including me dabbling with education and set up vocational education practices for Manipal. And then the founders got back again, and in 2011 we set up BigBasket. And that's a time the ecosystem was ready. You had broadband, you had smartphones, you had tablets, you had whole everything that you needed to actually run a business efficiently. And so it was the right time. We got the timing right this time. Investors are willing to bet on us because we had done all of this in the past. We had done the grocery business in the past. We had done the online version in the past, and hence it made sense. So we raised early money very quickly and got started, and we really scaled the business post that. So it's been 9 years, this journey. We've just become $1 billion company, and thanks to COVID, we've actually also become profitable, where we are making money. COVID has been a crazy experience, absolutely crazy experience. It taught us two things in life, and I'll keep it short. The first is that it taught us how being resilient can actually get you to win a battle like this. Absolutely. So resilience was the key word within the organization. We would get beaten up. Our delivery boys used to get beaten up by police. They used to get trashed. They used to run home. 80% of our staff ran away home on 23rd and 24th of March. 80%. We were left with 20% to work with. And we had to build the business back, from absolutely, going down. We were doing at that time close to about 200,000 orders a day. We dropped to 28,000 orders a day, and we've scaled that business back to now 380,000 orders a day. And that's been the journey across COVID. Lots of learnings, but two important things. The first thing, like I said, was resilience. Is that we built that amongst ourselves, built it in the team. The team just worked it right through, be it frontline, be it backend. Everybody just contributed tremendously, and we were able to scale. The second big thing we learned during COVID was this whole concept, and I'm hoping that at some point I can write a book around it later. It's called doing more with less. Okay, and this concept, we actually drove it around, across the organization, where resources were constrained. Everything was a constraint, right, during COVID, and we had to get the best out of whatever little we had. And then I reflect back, and the same thing applied in my personal life. The same thing applied at home, and so we actually coined this thing, saying doing more with less. It drove it internally. People to kind of imbibe that whole thing and try and deliver more with less. And what it essentially meant was be more productive, try and innovate to the extent possible, tweak processes, tweak technology to be able to deliver more with less. And COVID has been a crazy experience. Never seen anything like this before in my 35 years of working. But thank God we've actually come out well, grew exceedingly well. The demand continues, and we think we'll grow like this, month on month. Great tailwinds, and thank God for that, actually. And it's really working well, right now. So that's been the journey.
Okay. Thank you, Hari. You killed both of my questions that I'd prepared for you, so I'll have to quickly rethink of something else, but thank you so much.
That's the problem of sending questions ahead of time.
So you took them as cues. Thank you, Hari. Over now to Mustafa.
Thanks, Nivedita. Thank you, Hari, for setting the context. Let me introduce myself. Mustafa PC, CEO of ID. We make world's best food, idli. About me, I come from a very remote village in a beautiful place called Wayanad in Kerala. If you've not been to Wayanad, that's a must-visit place. About my retail experience, I started my first retail business at the age of 10. It was a makeshift store set up in my village, made with my mom's sari and my dad's bench. I used to borrow money from my uncle, walk all the way 14 kilometers to the nearest town, buy chocolates in bulk, bring it back to my village, and sell it at a retail price. I used to make money out of it. Unless my sisters steal the chocolates from me. But I was smart enough I was kind enough to give at least one chocolate to my sisters every day. That's how I started my retail experience. Let's talk about the evolution of food retail in India. It's all started with neighborhood kirana stores. Then we gradually moved to supermarkets, then the hypermarkets. Today, we talk about, or maybe in the last decade, we talk about e-commerce revolution and offline online merges as well, offline online launches as well, right? But one thing that no one talks about is what Hari just mentioned, right? The fresh food revolution. For instance, if you look at Alibaba in China, it has a chain of fresh food stores called Hema stores. It's actually bringing a revolution in the food industry. ID is actually trying to do a similar thing in India in the last 10, 12 years. There's a huge opportunity for fresh food revolution because Indian consumers don't usually trust a packaged food. Anything in a packaged form is something that doesn't go well with us. We don't trust a packaged food. And they need a reason to believe that packaged food is free from chemicals and preservatives. And product need to taste exactly like a homemade, if not better than homemade. The main issue is the trust. Indian consumers don't trust a packaged food. And that's my experience. What's the answer? I think the answer is the reason to believe is the shelf life. If you give them a product with a lesser shelf life, they have more reasons to believe. Higher the shelf life, they won't believe the packaged food is free from chemicals and preservatives, even if it's 100% natural. And that's my experience. Shorter the shelf life, better the chances of customers accepting the packaged food. While some companies invest heavily in R&D to increase the shelf life of the products, I would say we need to invest in keeping products fresh with shorter shelf life. And that is fresh, according to me. At ID, our products are no preservatives, no chemicals, nothing artificial in it. We deal with products with 3 to 7 day shelf life. And that's one of our biggest USP today. I think there's an opportunity to disrupt the packaged food and really make it really big, as Hari was talking about. While we all know about complications of handling business, food business is very tough to handle. But I can tell you from my experience, handling fresh food business is the toughest challenge in the world. But for you to build a fresh food brand, I think we need to focus on a couple of points from my experience again. One is a self-owned distribution system that really worked for us. Taking the products to the stores or to the homes directly from the factory, that works because usually if you go through a traditional FMCG model, it takes close to around 2 weeks product reach the stores, ex-factory. And I'm dealing with a product with 3 day shelf life. There is no way I can go through a traditional FMCG distribution model. So self-owned distribution model driven by technology is extremely important. So today we use technology heavily. When we started, for any fresh food brand, the biggest challenge is the wastage. When we started ID, we was trying to sell 100 packets to the market, and 90 used to come back unsold. Over a period of 3 years, we started sending 2000 kg to the market, and 500 used to come back unsold. There was no way for me to make this business profitable and scalable with that kind of wastage. That's when we invested in technology. We started capturing store-wise, item-wise sales and wastage data. We now use this data to predict the right demand for the right store on the right day. Using the analytics, we sell idli. Today, in a matured city, matured product, we run at a wastage of less than 1%. That is the power of technology, and that's the power of data. We use data to sell idli. And the third one is a daily distribution model, doing a replenishment, and then also implement a B2C to B2B rotation model. Let me quickly touch upon this point. Whatever you plan, if you supply 100 packets to a retail store, there is very high chance that 10, 15 of them may not be sold before expiry date. So instead of waiting for the expiry of the products, what we do is before expiry, we pick it up and then route it to institutional sales before expiry. And then net, we achieve zero wastage. And that's our model. And that's how it works. Hopefully, the next revolution could be, taking the products directly to home with the help of Big Basket. People like Big Basket. I always believe fresh always sells. We just need to crack the model. Apart from what I said, purely business operation perspective, according to me, entrepreneurs need to look at 3 simple things to make it happen. 1, don't look outside. Look within, look around, identify customer problems, use common sense to solve it. And that's how we need to build fresh food business. As Hari was mentioning, even look at the packaging. For example, in the case of Vada, we used packaging to deliver a functionality to build a Vada with a hole. Right? Simple techniques works. Even when we launched our tender coconut, smart chip tender coconut, we launched simple technology to predict what is inside the coconut without me opening the coconut. So those kind of disruptive, simple ideas is good enough. Again, what I've learned is, look around, identify customer problems, use common sense to solve it. Sometimes when you look around, you may not be able to identify a problem. That time, look up, and you get to see the humble coconut, right? Innovate on that. That works. Second thing, collaboration with stakeholders, whether it is, farmers, whether it is your, vendors, whether it is your, delivery partners. You need to build an ecosystem with proper collaboration to build a zero inventory business model. So fresh works only when you have a zero inventory business model. Otherwise, it doesn't work. And last but not least, deliver what is important for a customer. Don't over-engineer. An Indian homemaker is a gatekeeper for the kitchen. She won't let idli inside her kitchen. She's okay to buy idli batter, make steaming idli, and serve fluffy idli with her love to the family. If idli comes out well, she gets a credit, not ID. And if for some reason, if dosa is not crispy enough, she can blame it on the brand ID. What I've learned is never try to sell idli to an Indian homemaker, give her idli batter, let her make it idli. That's how I would summarize. So to summarize it all, fresh sells. Fresh is the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mustafa. To the last point, second last point of keeping the stakeholders happy, to manage zero inventory, I think in your sister's example that you gave, I think it was also about keeping internal stakeholders happy to keep your inventory safe. So moving on from that, Nivedita, over to you, please.
Thank you, Ankita. And I'm privileged to be on this platform of esteemed guests. And of course, it's a great learning for me too, to sit and learn more from Big Basket and ID also. It was really nice to hear what you all said. And talking about chocolate philosophy, ours also was a very humble journey. We both, I have a partner, Uma, and both of us started out of boredom and saying that we need to give something to the society. and let's help others. So we didn't want to start an NGO or something like that. So we said, let's come with some creativity. So with my mother, who had a confectionery, I saw her growing into a business lady. So that has also helped me grow my business. And Uma had a very nice eye for good packaging. So with both our combinations, we said we should bring a good chocolate into India. And 13 years back, people haven't heard of single origins or dark chocolate or percentage of dark. And so that's when we brought in our single origins with Belgium chocolate and milk chocolate we get from Switzerland. And that's when we started our journey. And we felt that the market, as like Hari was saying, that FabMart was too early. 13 years back, people wouldn't buy in our single origin chocolate, saying it's expensive and things like that. So we came in with newer stories of packaging and giving, that's our USP. Basically, we believe in good presentation to the customers. So we started off with a beautiful packaging for all our products. First, we were doing it with events and corporate companies, which picked up very well. And this had become very seasonal. So then we realized we need to get into something called retail business. So then we saw there's a huge market at the airports. So airports was fetching us good because people wanted to take back something home. So in international airports, we created like the destination collections. So like we made a beautiful box with Taj Mahal print on it, and lots of international customers would take it. And we coined our brand called Chocolate Philosophy, where people would were wondering why this name came up, Chocolate Philosophy. So we have a story to say that every of our box goes with a little gyan, whether it be a could be for a wedding or an anniversary or any reasons, but people would enjoy taking our chocolate box and having the chocolate as well as read the message and packaging. So now we, after the airports, we also got into the local retail markets. We are with Namdaris and food hall and some more local grocery stores. And yes, thanks to COVID, which gave us a time to think and pause and think about new stories, we've got from offline to online aggressively. We've tied up with Ferns and Petals, sir. With Big Basket, we just, our work is on progress. We are talking to people, and maybe in a couple of days, we'll be online with Big Basket too. And so this is our story. Even I would like to just bring to you all the packaging part of it. Like we realized the packaging is so important. The presentation is important in the chocolate. So we made a beautiful, we felt too much of digitalization is happening in the airports, and everywhere there's a message, you know, I love you or happy birthday or you're beautiful, things like that. So we felt the art of writing was going. So we created a beautiful chocolate called the envelope chocolate, and where you can write your own message and give it to the person whom you're meeting or like that. So we believe in customization to the T in the retail sector. So I'll just show you a picture of our envelope chocolate where we can write your message here and give it to people whom you like. And so this is our story. We would love to scale a little more into the retail market, which we are looking at growing at a slow pace and well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nivedita. I think one takeaway that I have from this is that you're one of the few business people or entrepreneurs who've spoken kindly about COVID. So the spirit of taking something nice and looking forward from adversity is something that maybe at least I can learn from you. COVID has been hard on us, so thank you. I would like to take this opportunity now to introduce our fourth speaker. So Mr. K. Vatheeswaran has also joined us. He is widely hailed as the father of e-commerce in India, being the founder of India's first e-commerce platform, India Plaza, in the late 90s. Mr. Vatheeswaran is currently the co-founder of Again Drinks, a brand that makes and markets milk-based health beverages. Not just that, he also is an author and has a book called Failing to Succeed, the story of India's first e-commerce company, available out there as well. So, sir, now we look forward to your thoughts on how your journey has been, your personal experiences, and a little bit about the topic and the product and the brand that you founded.
Sir, you'll have to unmute yourself, sir. It's muted.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
Am I audible now?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay. So thanks, Ankita. Sorry, I'm late. I just struggled trying to find the right link to log in. I don't know how many of you in this panel know, but Hari and I were co-founders in both FabMart and FabMall. So I missed what he was saying. Just so you didn't know, I thought I will add that point. Both Hari and I, and with other friends, have been entrepreneurs now for a little over 21 years. We've done multiple businesses together, and now we're doing, while he's at Big Basket, I'm actually working on Again Drinks, but most of our journey has been together. So most of the things that he said are relevant to me as well. So I'm not going to spend time on that part. Basically, I'm going to focus on what we're doing now at Again Drinks. When we started working on Again Drinks, I think we looked around and realized that there's perhaps an opportunity to create a beverage that is truly healthy, yet truly tasty. And the reason we thought there was an opportunity is we didn't find a single beverage out there in the market that did not have refined sugar, did not have preservatives, did not have artificial colors, and did not have flavor. So most beverages have one or the other. It's almost impossible to find any beverage that ticked all those boxes. Even the few that we found in recent startups, such as cold pressed juices and all, also had a different kind of problem, which is essentially the fact that they required chilled, which means they needed to be refrigerated, they needed a cold supply chain, and they had very limited shelf life. Now, while people keep talking about how much India has advanced in terms of logistics and all of that, the reality is that the cold supply chain in India is virtually non-existent. In fact, the hard reality, the truth is that it doesn't exist. There is no cold supply chain. So if you make a food product that requires cold supply chain, then you're fundamentally starting it off as a disadvantage. Right? We've also been in retail. Both Hari and I have spent time in FabMall, the physical store, significantly. I think one of the challenges in physical retail, and I can tell you this as a retailer, most retailers won't share this in public, but I can tell you this as a retailer, is that India is a very hot country, right? And most parts of the year in most cities are summer, right? It's not April, May. Generally, we are in summer always. And in a hot country, retailers, the first thing they do inside the store when there's no customer is put off the power, right? Nobody wants to run power and AC right through, because who's going to pay bills for an empty store? What this essentially means is every time you walk into a retail store and buy a product that has required cold chain or needs to be stored in chill, which is an ice cream or a juice, and you pick it up from the freezer, and this could even be true for items like butter and yogurt, Greek yogurt, whatever you buy, there is a very high chance that you're buying a product that is contaminated. Right? one of the reasons in India, whenever kids buy ice creams from retail stores and 2 days later fall sick, right, because of throat infection, is mostly because of contamination. So we said that even if you make a product that ticks all these boxes, the product should not require a cold supply chain. And consequently, because it doesn't require a cold supply chain, we also wanted to build a product that will be sustainable from a business point of view and therefore would have reasonably high shelf life, which means it doesn't come back from the retailer shelf unsold because you didn't give the retailer enough time to sell. And we said the average time that a retailer needs to sell a product is about 60 days. Can we make it 90 days? Because it allows them to play this transport, all of that. So we needed a product that 90 days. And when we listed all these conditions, said we want to build a product like this, we were told by every single person that we met who's an expert in retail and product and food and beverage that it can't be done. And the reason they said it can't be done, and this was what piqued our curiosity, is, and they said it can't be done because it's never been done before. And that's really the kind of challenge that entrepreneurs thrive upon. I mean, if somebody had told us it can't be done because of this, the scientific reason, then we were not going to argue. But mostly they told us that it can't be done because it's never been done before. And that's a very silly argument to make. As we were researching this, we came across a very curious piece of information, two data points. One is the fact that the US Department of Agriculture has listed down 5 different food groups as critical for the human body. And these 5 are dairy, fruits, vegetables, proteins, and grains. And we found that there wasn't a single beverage in the market that had all 5 food groups. It didn't exist. So we said we want to make one that has all of them. When we started working on that, we came across another interesting piece of information, which is that nobody had filed a patent with all these food groups without preservatives, without cold supply chain, and using these food groups. And the closest that anybody had come was Pepsi in the late 1970s. That's how hard the problem was. That's when we said, okay, the problem needs hard enough and therefore worthwhile to solve. So we then, and this was what, late 2016, early 2017, we then worked with the University of Agricultural Sciences. We worked with the DuPont labs. We worked with multiple dairy experts with global experience. And we created a whole set of products. We said the product will be based on dairy, which is low-fat milk or low-fat dairy, low-fat yogurt. We put fruits, we put vegetables, we put dry fruits, we put nuts. No refined sugar, no preservatives, no artificial colors, no artificial flavors. The product is ambient, does not require refrigeration, and has 90-day shelf life. And for 2 years, every time we would test something, something else would fail. We would crack that problem, something else would fail. We would go back saying, okay, this time the milk would work, but the yogurt will work, and the milk would fail. And we just went crazy. But we said, we will not compromise. In other words, we were very clear, we will not launch a product that did not tick all the boxes. We were okay never to launch. We said, if we don't tick all the boxes, we won't launch, but we're not going to compromise. So we started discussing in end of 2016, early 2017, we started actual development efforts. We launched in January 2019. That's how hard it was. But in 2019, we launched this brand of Again drinks. And these are now the only beverages in the whole world, really the whole world. And we filed a patent for it, or at least we've applied for a patent for it, which has got dairy, fruits, vegetables, dry fruits, and nuts, has no refined sugar, no preservatives, no artificial color, no artificial flavor, does not require refrigeration, and has 90-day shelf life. I mean, no product like this exists anywhere in the world. So, it's been a fairly interesting journey. And the exciting thing for me is that having spent a long time in retail and in the service business, which is essentially e-commerce and which is a service-driven business, doing it from the other side, which is to create a brand that sells through retailers, was a different set of challenge. And I think a product brand building business is far more satisfying in that sense because you're creating something truly from scratch. And you're hoping that the product differentiators will make it last in the market. And hopefully, if it works, you can create something that is sustainable and profitable as well. So, but still very early days, a long, long way to go. Hopefully, it'll do well.
Thank you, Veti. I did have an interesting chat yesterday on WhatsApp with one of the customer service representatives from Again Drinks. So I was trying to do a little bit of research on the product and the brand. So that was quick and easy. It was fairly satisfying as a consumer for me. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you so much. I'll tell them.
Thank you. So I have a few questions for each one of you. I will again start in the alphabetical order. So Hari, I have 2 questions for you.
I've answered them, I thought. I've already answered them.
Yes, Hari. I will twist the questions a little bit.
Oh, God.
So, of course, like I said, that, we all know that what COVID did to Big Basket, what demonetization did to Paytm, probably. And of course, like you said, that has been true for your brand and for your organization. What would have been the contingency planning had it been the other way around? And what were you and your team thinking about it at that point of time when it started, that how is it going to shape up for us?
There was no contingency plan. I was like I was telling you, seriously, because on 22nd of March is when the lockdown got not lockdown, that was a Janta lockdown, right? And on 21st evening, we were told by the government of India at the center, that is Ministry of Consumer Affairs and Ministry of Commerce, that Big Basket is allowed to deliver on 22nd. All essential services are allowed to deliver. And we were all geared and all set. People were charged, saying, great. We are like, so I named my team actually and called them food warriors, food soldier business. So I told them, listen, you guys are the people who are going to deliver food at home. In a situation like this, with all the risks and all the issues and all the problems that you'll face, it's a national duty, right? So that was the pride that people came to do work on 22nd, and within 2 hours we had to shut, because there are people who got beaten up and people are thrown behind bars, across. And I don't blame anybody on this, right? Because I think fundamentally, the message hadn't reached the ground level, and people didn't realize that we were allowed to deliver and all essential services were allowed to deliver. So we had to shut shop and go away. And because of that fear, and because of normal fear of COVID, like I was mentioning little earlier, 80% of our staff just went off, back to their hometowns, and we were left with just 20%. Frankly, at that point in time, we had no clue on lovely business that we have built over 9 years. What's going to happen to it now, right? In a state like this, what is COVID going to do? What is this COVID all about? People are just so scared, gone away. So there was no question of a contingency plan at that time. All you had to do is figure out that one thing was clear, that the government was actually all along saying that essential services will be provided, right? Now it was for us to actually stand back on our feet and get back to normalcy. So there wasn't a need for a contingency plan in that sense, right? Because we didn't think that we will not be allowed to deliver, right? Contingency plan comes when when you're told that now you can't sell your products, right? Which means like non-essentials, they were not allowed to sell. And that's when you think of what to do. And contingency plans, there's so many people who did so many things. Madura, for example, I still remember Vishesh, their CEO, called me and said, they've now started producing masks, right? Which could actually help, the current situation, because there's no way they could sell their garments because stores are all shut and they were not allowed to sell. So there were plan A, plan B, plan C, contingencies were all built by people who were not allowed to sell. Fundamentally, we were allowed to sell. We were down in the dumps, right? All we had to do is get up and find a way. And here, this is one thing that I must state and acknowledge right here, is that the way the government moved around, now, which is 23rd, 24th, all this happened, and 25th, the lockdown got announced. Between 25th and 1st April, I must tell you, every day I used to be on at least 3 calls with the government, all as essential service providers. And on the phone, on Zoom calls, they were taking decisions, saying your truck is stuck here, your movement is stuck there, this area you're not getting passes for your people, this place you're not getting clearances. They were issuing orders right there on the call, saying right now we'll get it cleared for you. And in 5 days, less actually, they got all of us essential services up and running, right? And that was actually a big driver of getting us up and running. Because if that didn't happen, we would have taken much longer, right? And then that is when we would have thought of what to do in terms of plan A, plan B, plan C, or contingency plans. But the government in just flat 4 or 5 days made sure things changed for us, because it was so critical to get these food warriors delivered to homes. And like us, there were others who were also there. And hence, Ankita, there was no real need for contingent plan. All we have to do is make sure that from being down in the dumps, how we're going to get up, wake up, stand up out there and deliver to the nation. And that's what we did.
Right. So Hari, of course, you spoke about how the timely intervention by the government helped the supply chain. Because that is critical, and especially in an essential, and especially when 20% of the business comes from fresh consumed, getting it from the farmers and getting it right out there to the consumers. But there was also, I believe, a little bit of challenge when it came to the last mile delivery with the delivery executives. Yes. Like you said, a lot of people moving back home. And I am a big basket user for the last 6 years. So I suddenly saw all new delivery executives coming to my place. And I could make that out, that they're new boys. They're asking locations, and because usually with Big Basket, these boys know their turf. They know where your apartment is, where to deliver. So how did your team manage that? And how can some others who work in a similar space take some learnings from that?
Yes, that was hard, and that's why I said, it was all about resilience, right, at that point in time. Because, what had happened, all our good people who are productive people had gone to their hometowns. And once they went there, they couldn't come back because, all modes of transport were actually completely shut, right? And so they couldn't do anything. So we had to hire from within the city, for that time. Hiring, engine, I have never seen it working like this, right? In 20 days, we hired 12,000 people. In 20 days, right? I have never seen our hiring team working like this over time. And you know how this happened? We had 57 partnerships at that point in time. We were walking into garment factories and telling them that your employees are out there, don't have work, right? We will help you. And we will sign contracts with you saying that when you open shop, they will come back to you. So which means they continue to be on your rolls. But right now, they're just doing nothing. And I'm not sure how long you'll be able to even pay them, right? So we will hire them. We went into restaurants. We went to National Restaurant Association of India and told them, listen, give us all the people that you have in your system who have lost jobs. We went to Retailers Association of India and said, all the non-essential retailers, please give it to us. We went to Uber. Uber taxis were delivering for us, during those initial stages. There were 57 partnerships at one point in time, just to give us people. And in 20 days, we actually hired 12,000 people. And that's all we were doing at that point in time. Every guy had turned into become a recruitment person, right? Is that you pick up the phone and find places where you could hire. And you're right, they were all new people. We had to hire more because their productivity was almost half of what we had earlier, right? And that was this whole concept that I talked about, which is doing more with less, right? Is that how do you now, with less efficient, less productive people, deliver more? So we started doing community, deliveries, right? Where we told an apartment complex, we instead of us coming there 5 times a day into your apartment complex, we will come there once a day and give your entire apartment what they need. So if you can consolidate all your orders and put it together. So we build a system like that. We built day-long slots. We did multiple things to make sure that, this whole concept of doing more with less works. But we had serious problems with people, not just last mile. We also had problems with our warehouse staff. So all put together, 12,000 people, 20 days, 57 partnerships. Every person in the company had become a recruitment executive, right? Including Hari Menon. And all I was doing was finding areas, finding places where we could actually get people, garment factories, restaurants, hotels. And that's what we did.
So Hari, a couple of things that I would take away from this and highlight is, one thing you said that we were down in the dumps, and I don't know who said this, but when you're down, the only way to go is up. So I would take that as an inspiration here. And also that as a homemaker, thank you for putting my essentials on my table, making sure I get my fruits and vegetables to get my family going. But also thank you for the whole, the outreach and the innovative way of thinking of getting more delivery executives on board, and probably being one of the only few people providing jobs to people in a scenario where people were losing jobs left, right, and center. So I think I speak for a lot of people when we say thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Yes. Now I will move on with my questions to Mustafa. I have two questions for you, Mustafa. One is about ID as the product offering. So from what I see, it was a big gamble, especially in the South Indian market, where everybody wants to even make the batter at home. But ID is clearly the market leader against all odds. So how did you come about doing that, and how in a COVID scenario, when now we still want to do everything in-house, how does this positioning play out or the product play out? I think we've lost him. Okay, so I will then move on to Nivedita. Okay, Mustafa's back. So that is one, and just give him like a second to get back in.
I'm back.
Yes, hi. And the second question is that in an interview with Your Story, you had mentioned about the brand, the products, the entire supply chain going organic. So a little bit about that, how are you planning to do that? And is it still a niche in India? Does it still really work? So these two questions.
About, the COVID, what we learned from COVID time and how we acted and what has been the result. COVID time, as Hari mentioned, we also learned to do more with less. We focused on limited number of SKUs and limited number of cities and stores, and still made product available. And during the period in Bangalore market, around 60 kg of batter a day. So we almost done during that week, and this is close to around 1.2, 1.3 during the and
We can't hear you very clearly, Mustafa. Your voice is breaking.
Hear me now?
Yes.
So I said ID is not a market leader in Bangalore as well. ID has only 4% market share in Bangalore. 6% of people still batter at home. So my competition is the grinders at home in the market. It's not easy, it takes time. Now, coming back during the COVID time, we have learned to do more with less. We focused on limited number of SKUs, limited number of products, limited cities, and limited number of stores. And even then, we have seen good growth coming in the last quarter itself. We have managed to give salary increment to employees. We have made more profits in the last quarter. We've done better business, and we have done much better. And that's the reason behind it, right? So people have become more health conscious. Everybody want to eat good food. They want to stay away from junk food, and this was the best option available, right? So we made it happen, and that we have seen tremendous growth. One interesting thing that I want to bring up, a specific product I want to talk about here is the beet paratha. I don't know how many of you have tried my beet paratha. That's my personal favorite, and I strongly believe that's the best money can buy for you. It is not a marketing talk; it is the reality. And we have been doing this business for paratha business for the last 6 years. I'm talking about wheat paratha specifically. And we were doing very small business, but in the last 3 months, we have almost grown 4 times in that particular product, wheat paratha as a product, right? That is because you get the luxury of eating a wheat paratha at home now, right? Second thing, very healthy product, right? It comes with pure wheat and stuff like that. So overall, what I've seen is, there's a huge potential for fresh food and
Right.
everything. There is reason to be is the quality of the product and the day stamp on the product, and these are the important
Right.
parts for any product to be successful in Indian market. So the quality, I'm talking about but then package, unless it is a short shelf life product,
Right.
that it really works out for us. Coming to organic is a feature. It's the next version of ID. Organic is still very small in India. If I understand correctly, it's less than 1% of the market share, right, in the grocery segment. If you look at, there are three aspects for this. One is availability. If you look at Bangalore market, for example, out of 60,000 stores, you will find organic products maybe in 100 stores, not more than that. Second thing, pricing is high. Some products are 2-3 times of the regular product. And third, trust, right? Anybody can claim that I'm organic. So I think this is the challenge that we're facing today, and we are in the journey. It takes time. I initially thought, it's an easy journey for me. I can get it done in 1 year, but I think it's not. It takes time, especially the supply chain is a major issue for us.
Right.
The product gets spoiled. Let's take rice, for example, right? Rice gets spoiled in a few weeks. Fumigation cannot be done in the plant. So with all this in place, it takes to build organic culture. I think that's the future. What we're trying to do is make organic affordable, available, and trustworthy. It takes time, but we're the journey.
Sure. All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mustafa. I think on a lighter side, if I may, that maybe we are buying more wheat parathas because the cooks are not allowed to come during the lockdown. But thank you for those inputs. And yes, I think organic in India is an overplayed and overused word, but underplayed opportunity. And it would be great if we had some established players move into that space, so we as a consumer can buy those products with trust, and we know where it's coming from. Okay. Thank you. Moving on to Nivedita. Nivedita, I will again keep it quick. The brand proposition has a lot of personalization, customization, and uniqueness, a bit of DIY in it. So is this scalable in the current, as a model? And I think that is the question that you would have wanted to take. So yes.
Yes, there's a huge opportunity, as I told you in the last bit also when I had a conversation, that there is a huge opportunity to bring it to scalable process. The reason is we found that lots of people, the consumer market is changed into more of personalization. They want to do it yourself, and they want to get the feel of making. So like just before the COVID times, we had a live counter at Namdari, Simply Namdari, where within 5 to 7 minutes, you can make your own fresh chocolate with adding all your ingredients. Could be an almond or a pista or gems kids would love to try. So we were creating that story on this thing, and again taking it eggless and making it more fresh and things like that. Yes, there's a huge market to it, and this is just the beginning. And of course, COVID has made us think and restructure ourselves how to make it scalable in the retail sector. So we've come up with new stories, like even for Ganesha, we are creating a beautiful story where we are making a chocolate Ganesha, and you can take it and after the puja, use it with warm milk, mix it and make a chocolate drink for yourself and keep it. So this is what we are doing, new stories. And yes, we can bring it up to a larger scalable proposition also.
Right. So what I'm hearing is there is a lot of differentiation. The brand is differentiating itself basis differentiated products. What I would like to tell the others is that when I was going to the Chocolate Philosophy website, they have a cake, which you can break the cake on your birthday. So I think it works perfectly on COVID because nobody wants to blow on the candles anymore because then nobody would want to eat the cake. So on moving on quickly to Vaiti. Vaiti, I had two questions for you, but I think I would, if you would like, we could take both. One is that given the 90-day shelf life and that you're working with all the big retailers offline and online, what are the challenges moving pan-India? You know, and what can others learn from that? So what is the supply chain strategy? And how did you manage to do this brand when you have biggies like Amul, Pepsi, Coca-Cola to compete with, especially in terms of margin, marketing dollars, distribution might. So you could choose to pick up any one of them.
Yeah, let me try and give you quick, short answers to both because you asked both the questions. So I'll try and complete both as quickly as possible. So let me take the second one first. Despite all the complexity from outside, the FMCG food and beverage business essentially has just three moving parts, just three. Its brand, its distribution, and its product. There's really nothing else. And everything else that an FMCG company does is to do one of these three. Now, when you name the competitors like Coca-Cola and Amul and all of these people, the fact that you think we're competing with them in itself is a good encouraging thing to say, but we are not. But how would you compete? I think it's a good question. How would startups compete with these people? The point is, we cannot compete with Coca-Cola and say, I'm going to build a bigger brand than Coca-Cola, right? It's not going to happen. We can fool ourselves, but it's not going to happen. Or we can say, we're going to invest several $100 million and build a deeper distribution network than Coca-Cola. It's not going to happen. Or Amul, right? So essentially, out of three moving parts, two are gone. And therefore, the only thing that we can play as a startup in this business is to make a better product. There is no other way. So how will we compete with them through distribution? We're not going to compete with them with distribution. We're not trying to build a bigger brand, because if we do that, then we're only fooling ourselves. We'll spend a lot of money fooling ourselves. We won't spend a lot of money building a brand, but we'll spend a lot more money fooling ourselves. What we can do is to try and build a better product.